What just happened in Guinea-Bissau is not your usual West African coup headline. This was not a power shift. It wasn't a calm transition. This was a country, unfortunately, in full political collision. An election held days earlier, no official winner declared, both candidates claiming victory, with gunfire erupting near the presidential palace and soldiers blocking electoral officials, and the military stepping in to cancel the entire vote. Then the armed forces announced a new transitional president, dissolving the government completely. This wasn't a reset, this wasn't a slow transition. This was unfortunately panic, pressure, and power clashing in real time. Let's walk through what actually happened without spin and without assumptions.
Voters queued patiently, clutching their voting cards at polling stations, as Guinea-Bissau held its presidential and legislative elections on Sunday. Residents were hoping for change, stability, and development in the politically volatile West African nation. The country saw at least 9 coups between 1974, when it gained independence from Portugal, and 2020, when President Umaro Sissoco Embalo took office. In this election, Embalo is in a tight contest to become the first leader in 3 decades to win a second consecutive term. He echoed voters' sentiments as he cast his vote on Sunday.
I call on everyone to vote massively, to elect a person who will bring stability and progress to Guinea-Bissau, to build this country.
He faces 11 other candidates, the strongest being Fernando Diaz, a relative political newcomer backed by the party that led the fight for independence from Portugal in the 1960s and 1970s. Ahead of the elections, Diaz vowed to tackle drug trafficking in the nation, a key transit point for cocaine traveling from South America to Europe.
How is it possible for a drug plane to take off in Guinea-Bissau at the airport and the president says he has no knowledge of it? We also think that, being aware of this, we will fight against drug trafficking in Guinea-Bissau, especially when it's coming from public authorities.
Analysts predict a close race between Embalo and Diaz. A runoff will be held if no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote. Provisional results will be announced on Thursday, according to a spokesperson for the National Electoral Commission.
Well, here it is, Thursday, and these are the confirmed facts. Guinea-Bissau held a presidential election days before this coup. No official results were announced, and incumbent President Umaro Sissoco Embalo claimed that he won, and opposition candidate Fernando Diaz also claimed that he won as well. The Electoral Commission had not certified anything that were reportedly blocked by soldiers. Gunfire was heard near the presidential palace and key government buildings, the Electoral Commission offices as well. Soldiers surrounded these strategic locations, and the military declared that they were annulling the election and dissolving the government. They appointed General Biagé Na Intan as interim leader. So this is not speculation. This is documented. The sequence was not calm. Again, unfortunately, it was tense, uncertain, and fast. But here's what the headlines are saying. Right, Western outlets have already outlined the framing as a setback for democracy, another African meltdown, instability spreading in the region. Right, but those headlines skip the real part. The panic did not start with the coup. It started partially when the election collapsed, we'll say, right? And the truth here is that the election was inconclusive. The public had no clear winner, and tensions rose after both candidates claimed victory, with gunfire causing fear and confusion, further heightening the tension. So the military intervened, according to their statement, because the situation was breaking down. They formed a new governing body and installed the transitional leader. But what we do not know at this time is who inside the political class supported this, whether internal factions pressured the military, and whether anything else is going on, we'll say. So how long this transition will last and what the roadmap will be. So whether the cancellation was to prevent violence or secure power, these are open questions, and the answers are unknown. We don't invent them here. So the real lesson is that this is not simply military's bad or government is corrupt or democracy failed. The deeper reality is that Guinea-Bissau hit a legitimacy crisis in this instance because the elections are unclear. Institutions were unable to certify the results, and rival politicians both claiming victory, with again gunfire erupting in key locations. So this is a fragile time, a fragile zone where the military intervention is part of that crisis and not separate from it. So in this instance, let's be precise, right? A coup that cancels an election is not something that we celebrate by any means. And a coup that stops a potential clash is not something that we dismiss either. A coup that creates calm after panic isn't a victory or a failure, it's a symptom. And this moment tells us the institutions were simply not strong enough. The election process struggled under pressure, and the politics were tense long before soldiers moved. And the people were forced in the middle of the crisis that they have not created. So we don't know the intentions of the transitional team or leaders at this time. We don't know whether this will stabilize or destabilize the country. And we don't declare heroes or villains in this story. We respect the complexity because African politics is not theater. So what this means for the region is essential. Guinea-Bissau now enters uncertain transition. So we don't have a clear mandate, no public legitimacy or electoral resolution. So there's a political vacuum filled by the military in this moment. And ECOWAS faces another crisis that it can't easily control, right? ECOWAS already struggling with transitions in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea. Now Guinea-Bissau unfortunately joining the list. But this case is different because it involves an annulled election, not just a power dispute. So investors and international partners, unfortunately, will pause because when the country cancels an election, the global system will react and claim trade uncertainty. Diplomatic missions may get a little cautious, and aid agreements may freeze or slow. And partners start to shift and wait and watch to see what happens. And I won't say whether this is, punishment or a standard playbook, just, what I see as taking place shortly. The people of Guinea-Bissau face the heaviest uncertainty, right? Because they voted, they participated, they waited for the results, and they were met with silence, So the psychological impact on the citizens will be real as, fear, confusion, fatigue, and distrust may rise. So this isn't a simple political event. It's a national emotional shock and challenge. So what comes next is a transitional charter. This document will decide new election timelines, civilian versus military roles, and how long the military will stay in power, and how institutions will be rebuilt. So this charter will redefine everything, inshallah, in a positive way. So we know that international communities will want clarity. Countries will want to know how long the transition lasts, whether the vote will be rerun, and political parties will participate freely. So do expect some pressure from these international communities, and rival political camps may push for negotiations. Both candidates who claim victory will have to negotiate, contest, and call for a fresh vote to shape their outcomes. So the legitimacy of the transitional leader depends on transparency, reputation, not only military rank or recognition. So if communications are clear, timeline is honest, then institutions will be respected as well as the civilians. So unfortunately, Guinea-Bissau did have a coup, but not only that, it had an electoral meltdown that triggered a power intervention. So this moment deserves clarity and not cliche. Respect, not assumptions, and observation, not prophecy, right? So that is your African insight for today. We Do not chase any headlines here. We're only chasing the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.